Hey Canucks fans, welcome to the line change. In this video, we're going to be talking about Quinn Hughes, somebody who we haven't really talked about a whole lot, at least during the offseason. We've been primarily focused on Elias Pettersson, Philip Hedl, Thatcher Demko to a degree, at least, generally, not necessarily on this channel. But we're going to be talking about Quinn Hughes because Quinn Hughes spoke to Iain MacIntyre on I believe it was yesterday or maybe even Tuesday. So we are a couple of days late on this, but I saw this article written by Iain MacIntyre, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And it really gives us some insight into what Quinn Hughes is thinking, at least when it pertains to his future here in Vancouver, which is obviously a question on a lot of Canucks fans' minds. Obviously, a lot of Canucks fans are worried that if this team doesn't turn things around and start winning or go on a deep playoff run, they're going to lose Quinn Hughes because he's going to want to go play with his brothers in New Jersey. So we're going to go over this article. I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. We're going to go over some quotes from Quinn. And all in all, we're just going to, but read what Quinn Hughes has to say when it pertains to his future. He spoke about some other things as well, including Elias Pettersson. He talked a little bit about last season, talked about Adam Foote, talked about Rick Tocchet. So we're going to go ahead and dive into it. But before I do that, real quick, I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of this amazing artwork you see here behind me, including one of Quinn Hughes. And you guys can check them out yourselves at GassyJackArt.com. You can also check him out on Instagram at GassyJackArt. There's a link to his website in the description down below. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at this article from Iain MacIntyre. I will leave a link to it in the description down below. I highly recommend reading it yourselves. He goes on to say, after the summer to process a winter of upheaval with the Vancouver Canucks captain, Quinn Hughes said Tuesday he hasn't made any decisions about his long-term future with the team. Eligible to sign a contract extension next summer or not, the 25-year-old superstar told Sportsnet he was disappointed about coach Rick Tocchet leaving, but excited that Adam Foote is succeeding him. Hughes is all in on playing in Vancouver this season and helping the team return to the Stanley Cup playoffs after last season was undermined by injuries to almost everyone and the soap opera-like sideshow surrounding top forwards Elias Pettersson and now ex-Canuck JT Miller. After missing last season's Four Nations Face-Off tournament due to his own injuries, the defenseman from Michigan also desperately wants to play for the U.S. Olympic team in February, and of course, as we all know, he made the orientation camp, and he's pretty much a lock to play for the U.S. at the Olympics. You can tell it's something that Quinn really wants, and he was obviously, as what is just mentioned in this article, he is very disappointed that he couldn't play in the Four Nations. There was even talk at one point, him still going, just and not necessarily playing, but watching, and he wasn't even able to do that. So, not even training camp, he corrected himself. I'm focused on the skate test before camp so I can push my teammates so that everyone's ready going into camp. Actually, let me backtrack a little bit. I kind of went ahead of myself. We were talking about him playing for the U.S. Olympic team in February, but said all he is focused on right now is getting ready for training camp. And then he would go on to correct himself, saying not even training camp. He's focused on the skate test before camp so I can push my teammates so that everyone's ready going into camp. There you go. I got it right. One thing I'm really good at or have gotten good at is I'm very present. I can't even sign for another year, so there's nothing I can do. As far as the noise about his future, I can handle the noise. That's why I'm the captain of the team, because I can handle these things and I can play at an elite level, and it doesn't matter what's going on around me. Now, this is great to hear, obviously, from Quinn, and I absolutely 100% believe every word that he just said. He can handle the noise. I mean, just think about it. With the whole JT Miller, Elias Pettersson thing, it affected obviously a lot of members of the team. It affected guys like Brock Besser, PD, of course. It even affected Miller. But the one person that it didn't affect, Quinn Hughes. He still played an absolutely amazing season despite not being 100% for most of it and dealing with a multitude of injuries. He didn't let that noise get to him, and he still performed at a Quinn Hughes level despite those several injuries that he was dealing with. And as far as the noise around my teammates, I'm going to try to help everyone else too and be as good a leader as I can be. Noise doesn't bother me. It's a long year, and I'm just going to be day to day and focus on the short term. That's the truth, honestly. The 2024 Norris Trophy winner is an unrestricted free agent in 2 years, although the Canucks will need to know next summer what Hughes intends to do. In his first in-depth interview since leaving Vancouver in April for the offseason, Hughes was emphatic he isn't planning his future beyond 25-26. Every year brings its different challenges, he said. Two of my best buddies, Canuck teammates Connor Garland and Brock Besser, just signed in Vancouver long-term, which could perhaps persuade Quinn Hughes to stay. Obviously, that's going to be a huge bargaining chip for the Canucks and really helps in that department. I will say last year was not fun. It just wasn't. But I'm a really competitive guy, and last year was a failure. So I'm trying to bring my best, try to be a great leader, and help my team get in the playoffs. Who knows what we can do, and who knows how I'll be feeling this time next year. It's still a year away. Obviously, that is great to hear from Hughes. Talking about him being a great leader, I absolutely 100% agree. He's showing maturity beyond his years, and I don't think a single Canucks fan out there can disagree with that. At their best, Hughes and Colorado's Cale Makar play at a higher level than any other defenseman in the NHL. By this standard, Hughes struggled toward the end of last season, despite finishing with 76 points in 68 games and leading the Canucks in scoring by 26 points. Hughes said he dealt with a torn ligament in his hand, then a torn oblique muscle, and finally a groin strain. In April, he made it clear how badly he wanted Tocchet to stay, and 3 weeks later, the reigning NHL Coach of the Year informed the Canucks he would not resign. Tocchet was soon hired by the Philadelphia Flyers. It was the final gut punch to the Canucks in a season filled with them. I really did like Rick, Hughes said. I thought he was a really great coach. He loves hockey, very passionate about the game, maybe more than any coach I've ever had. He was a great person that cared about his players, but a lot of things that were exhausting for me last season were probably twice as exhausting for him. He had a lot on his plate. It was tough to see him go, but saying that, he earned the right to go where he wanted to. There was also a couple of things that I think he had on his mind about family that we won't get into. Not everyone knows the ins and outs of everyone's life, but what I can say is Rick deeply cared about the Canucks and wanted to make this a winning organization. So obviously, we all know Hughes was a big a big Rick Tocchet guy. I mean, he's a big Adam Foote guy too, but he was really big on Rick Tocchet. And at one point, there was a lot of Canucks fans were wondering if Rick Tocchet stayed, would that help with the Canucks re-signing Quinn Hughes? Obviously, that's out the window because Rick Tocchet ended up leaving. But that's a conversation for another day. And what about Foote, Hughes' blue line coach, who was quickly promoted to replace Tocchet and around whom a new staff has been constructed? I had my two best years with Footy as my D coach, Hughes said. He's another guy that's a great person and really cares about his players. Very technical on the defensive side, intelligent, got a lot of experience. Another guy you can walk into his office and shoot the shit with. What I've seen, he's trying to get the best out of each guy and maybe make guys play better than what they think they're capable of. Hopefully he can do that with everyone on the roster. I know he's extremely excited to be the head coach. Soon after he was hired, Foote met with Hughes, Pedersen, and goalie Thatcher Demko in Detroit to have dinner and play golf and talk about the team and leadership. Pedersen flew over from Sweden for the summit. There were subsequent Zoom meetings between Foote and the Canucks' larger leadership group. Foote has been so eager to grow relationships with players that Hughes, needing to decompress, had to tell his new coach at one point that he wouldn't be answering the phone for a couple weeks, which is pretty funny that Quinn Hughes basically had to tell Foot, leave me alone for a few weeks. Let me not think about anything and just, enjoy life, enjoy the summer. Hughes would go on to say, if I didn't tell him that, he'd have been on the phone with me every 4 or 5 days. Hughes said he's really great at communicating and no one's more excited for the season than him. He's trying to make us a better team. It's so hard to add pieces from the outside, so he's trying to empower everyone on the inside and make everyone inside better. He can teach us and bring us closer. Let's be honest, we're not going to be the most skilled team, but we can have the hardest working team. We can have a team. I mean, you look at Florida and they have a ton of talent, but they're a team, and that's something we can be. This is very intriguing to hear from Hughes. He's being honest, basically saying, he's basically admitting that the Canucks aren't the most skilled, which is true. The Canucks are not the most skilled, or else we'd be, we wouldn't have had such a crappy season last year, and we'd be in the playoff hunt every single year. We'd be up at the top of the standings, and if we were the most skilled team, it most likely would have been us against the Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup final. You get what I'm getting at with that. But the fact that he believes that the Canucks can be the hardest working team, and he also does a little comparison with Florida, saying, they have a ton of talent, but the Florida Panthers have not won the Stanley Cup the last 2 years because they have a ton of talent. They've won it because all in all, they're a team. But to be a good team, something like the 109-point version of the Canucks from 2 seasons ago, Vancouver needs Demko to be healthy after playing only 23 games last season, and Pettersson to be much better than he was when he opened his franchise record $92.8 million contract with 45 points in 64 games. Here, Quinn Hughes goes on to talk a little bit about Petey and how much he's a big supporter of Petey, and just their friendship as well. I've been Petey's biggest supporter throughout everything. Hughes said, when I was a rookie and he was a sophomore, we were kind of similar guys in that we were both on the quiet side, reserved, but we both loved hockey, and we were both smaller guys growing up and had to find a way to be good. And I think that was through our hockey sense and the way we saw the game. As far as Petey, I mean, we need him. You don't get to the level Petey was at with 191 points over the previous 2 seasons without having extreme dedication and focus and some things inside you. I've seen it from him, and I think he's going to be great. I think he's happy. I think he's had a great summer, and I'm looking forward to seeing him. Do I think he's going to have a better year? Yeah, because he's a really good player, but it's going to be up to him and how good a year he has. So basically, Quinn Hughes is saying he thinks PD's going to have a better year because he's a really good player, and he is. And, he's mentions he's had a great summer. He's looking forward to seeing him. But at the same time, he also, in a way, calls out PD, saying it's up to him. Basically saying it's up to PD on how good of a year he has, which is, again, great leadership, great maturity coming from Quinn Hughes. He's not afraid to challenge Elias Pettersson, and that's exactly what he's doing here. From all that went wrong for the Canucks last season, they still amassed 90 points, missing the playoffs by only 6 games. No wonder Hughes and his teammates think they can bounce back. It can't always be sunshine and rainbows, he said. If you look at everyone in the league, what makes it so special is that there are so many great players, and there is adversity that everyone goes through to get to the ultimate goal. It was a demanding year, but I feel like I grew more last year than the year I won the Norris. I learned a lot about myself as a human being and what kind of leader I want to be, what kind of person I want to be. You definitely don't want to live in the past. We're already on a new season, and that's where my head is at. And probably after this interview, I won't be talking about last season again. It took me a while to get over it because it was really disappointing more than it was just really not fun. It was an exhausting year, but I really do think it's going to make everyone in our group stronger, mentally stronger. Hopefully everyone has trained hard and is ready to go. I know I am. So once again, Quinn Hughes, in a way, calls out his teammates, saying, he hopes everyone, is mentally stronger after having gone through what they went through last year, and they've learned from it. And he also mentions, he hopes everyone has trained hard. Now, by no means am I going to say that's a dig at Petey, because I don't think it is. I think if people think that, they're reading into that too much. But he basically says what any captain would say, hopefully everyone has trained hard and is ready to go. And then he makes a point to say he knows that he knows that he is. Obviously he has trained hard. Quinn Hughes always trains hard, and he knows what is expected of him, so he delivers. But that is the interview from Sportsnet by Iain MacIntyre on Quinn Hughes. Some great stuff. I highly recommend reading it, even though I just essentially read it for you. But definitely check it out. There is a video on the article. You guys can check that out. Once again, like I mentioned earlier, I will leave a link to this article in the description down below. Canucks Army also has this article on their website, so go ahead, check them out as well. But Quinn Hughes isn't ready to talk contract just yet. Perhaps, this season might be, it might lead to that, depending on how the Canucks do. We shall see. I remain very optimistic that Quinn Hughes will stay with the Vancouver Canucks, that he will re-sign with the Canucks. And I was optimistic before reading this article, just based on the type of person that Quinn Hughes is, the type of leader that he is, and the type of captain that he is, and the fact that he is the captain of this team. But having read this article, I am even more optimistic that he's going to re-sign. Just hearing it, just some of the things that he said, in regards to Petey, being the captain, being a leader, maturing. I'm not one of those Canucks fans who are like, oh, he's, let's start counting down the days. He's basically out the door. That's not the type of person that Quinn Hughes is as a human being, as a player. And I do think he is going to re-sign with the Vancouver Canucks. Perhaps this time next year. We'll all be talking about it. But this is the interview with Quinn Hughes and Iain MacIntyre. Let me know what you guys think of it. What do you guys think about what Quinn Hughes said in particular to Elias Pettersson this upcoming season, last season? Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find and interact with us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, as well as Blue Sky. Blue Sky is not listed here, but you guys can check us out on Blue Sky at The Line Change, and feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. If you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcast. On Spotify, feel free to give us a follow, as well as rate and review us. It is, of course, greatly appreciated, and it really helps out the podcast, specifically on Spotify. But that's going to do it for me. As always, let's go Canucks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.